Welcome back to Mostly True Psychiatry with me, Dr. Mellon. This is going to be part one of two to be able to do the biopsychosocial. So, again, there'll be a link to the Dynalist notes that I wrote on this, and you can see them later. There's a lot of more information here than what I'll be able to talk about per se. But, all right, so this was originally taught to me in like medical school, and, they're all excited that there's Myers or whoever the hell it was in the 70s, somebody, I don't know, I don't really care. And they're like, oh, this person came up with biopsychosocial, and no, psychiatry's famous for being ahistorical. All these ideas are not new. There's like George Shane. He was already like writing books on this for like how society was causing mental difficulties because of the outside environment. There's a ton of people, even like Circle of Willis guy on how biologically it was an issue, and that was like 16 or 1700s, and it's dumb. It's ahistorical. Neanderthals probably realized that your family matters, the way that you act, right? But if you actually try to duplicate your work, which breaks my primary rule to all note writing, never write something twice. This is what you're going to do. First, I'll zoom in on this. First, you'll tell yourself, I'm only putting in the really important stuff. So you write a bunch of crap up top, and then you try to concisely write at the bottom. You have you have the diagnosis, you have their one-liner, and then you put biopsychosocial, and you try to write it the way that you were told to do it earlier. I'm going to put in the really important stuff. Then you're going to get behind because you're writing things twice. And then you're going to stress out because you're behind. And then you're going to F it. Quit doing biopsychosocial, say this is a stupid thing, move on, it's too much work, it sounds nice but it's not practical, which is every attending you've ever worked with just about. And the ones who don't, because they're not seeing the real patients and writing their notes, right, because you're doing all the work. But it can be done, and it should be done when you have repetitive patient interactions. I wouldn't promote it for consultation or a person who's inpatient. You're just going to write little chunks and move on. This is more for outpatient folks. To write a good biopsychosocial is like your own PhD, thesis. It's going to take you a long time to get good at it, to be able to do this thing. I've spent a year doing it. It's all the third year when you're doing your inpatient, and I had to figure this out on my own, mess it up 15 different ways, and you'll find a way that works for you. The way I'm going to show you is how I do it that works for me, and I think is actually a very reasonable way that most people should do, unless if you come up with a better idea, tell me below, right? Share. So what do you include in it? So I do a decades of life approach. Basically, let me kind of give you this scaffolding real quick. So you have a note. Here's my note. Here's my biopsychosocial. This portion always has kind of a pattern to it, right? You want to get good at patterns. You're not trying to reinvent the wheel. So you like patient born in Houston, Texas, or whatever. They report unconcerning birth history, neurodevelopmentally normal, or whatever it is. You put that there. Raised by who? Okay, it could be like biological parents, and I'll put like mom, construction, whatever, dad's teacher. And 3 siblings, age -2, -4, +2, or whatever, It's just like an easy starting point, Patient went K through 12 without concern, began work in construction at age 16, and continued, or what, I don't know. Just something simple, but this is kind of like a basic format, and then I'll expand out. After that, I'll put, so this piece, because they're over, let's say they're in their 30s, I'll always put birth to age, 16 or 18 when they graduated, or whatever. It could be 22, it could be 15, they dropped out of drugs and pregnant or whatever. And then I'll put like age 20s, age 30s, and decades of life. And then in each of these sections, I'm going to kind of go over main things that I want to know. It's, what's the relationship issues, married, kids, dating, adopted, whatever. I'll put in work issues. So, are they working? Are they on disability? Whatever. There's medical issues. Did they, is this in the 20s were they diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and were 250 pounds and started insulin at 27 and, or whatever. Have they, what's their first contact with psychology or psychiatry, right? As if that was in there, that's relevant. Did they started medications for first at age XYZ? And, maybe they started therapy. Maybe there's a trauma. This is where their PTSD came in their 20s. And, just the main issues that are happening during that time frame in an actual story form where they're age 21, 22, 23, 24. They're going forwards in time. And if they tell you something backwards, you put it backwards so that it's actually kind of chronologically correct for the patient. At some point, you'll be working on current when you're doing your H&P, and so it's, patient lives in XYZ with, ABC. And then I always put brackets, and I'll put if there's relevant, important information, I'll put it about that person at that point. So it could be, unemployed, SUD, ETOH, whatever it is, type thing. And then I'll put their same kind of issues that are here. I'll put in here, so working and, are they work, school, kind of things. And then eventually, each time I see them, this will keep getting longer and longer, right? Because in my note, I always put updates made to biopsychosocial above where appropriate. So I don't write things in today's interview because I'm going to lose it. I can't copy paste it forward, and I don't want to write things twice again, so don't do it. So at some point, there's too much written here, and so what I'll do is when I get to the next year of their life or something, so maybe it's like 2022 age for the patient or something. I'll take that information that I cut and paste, and then I'll condense it. So I'll put like, had irregular employment due to incarceration and drug use or whatever. And so I'll condense it down because ultimately this stuff will then, and this had information written in it. Whoops, too many keys. And this will just get moved into my age 30s, and my current will stay brief. So let me scroll through here, see what kind of things we missed, and then we'll go forward on the next piece. So one of the things that I'll put family structure, like I said earlier on that, neurodevelopmental history, make a note here. So you did the birth history. Let's actually talk about each of these. So birth history. So birth history, you want things that a pediatrician would actually care about, not just because it's like, oh, it sounds interesting, or the parent or patient thought it was interesting. It might not be relevant. You want real prematurity. Don't write anything unless it's like 34 weeks or something and or below. Like they got NICU stay, or they were in the hospital for a week. Not, I was there for 3 days. Like that doesn't matter. You're wasting your time writing. It has no relevance to their entire history of their life. Other than the parents know that fact, right? Or the patient was told it. Significant trauma in utero, car wreck, not mom did drugs or mom stressed. Like, that's great. There's research going on in this stuff, and where they're trying to tell you it has all this stuff. This is a bunch of self-reporting. This is not, there's no real psychiatry that we know much about this kind of epidemiology garbage. It's just self-reports. If this was true, then, these self-reports, if they're really that factual, then you would be able to say like, oh, everybody in America eats healthy and normal. They're just getting fatter. They all say they're eating healthy. It's stupid. It's obviously wrong. Just don't write stuff that's not helpful or relevant for you as the actual doctor. Neurodevelopmental history, it might be upsetting to the parents. He didn't walk till he's 13 months old. Pediatrician doesn't care till 15. They're going to see you, and it's going to upset the parents for a little while. But that's the normal range. It can be that far out. Oh, they were 2.5 years old, and before they'd say my ball. It's like, that's normal. That's super normal. There is a huge range in speech. Doesn't mean they're autistic. It's just the normal human range. I always ask these family dynamics questions. I ask it early, and then I often will cycle back on it. So early on, right when I'm doing the, they were raised by their parents kind of scenario. Patient reports normal, raised by parents, blah, 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 K through 12. Actually, before I even get there, it doesn't matter wherever you want to put it. It's like, patient describes childhood as quoted. Patient describes dad as quoted, right? Do it. What's going to happen is they'll always, give you the same generic answer. It was fine, it was rough, it was not the best, something just very generic. They don't know what to say. Then you get a bunch of history, and they're dropped out of 15 on drugs, and you're like, wow, that sounded rough. It sounded, you had this happen to you and this happened to you. How would you describe your childhood in light of that, right? You double back on it, and they'll change it. It's not threatening, it's not weird. You're the psychiatrist. School history, you're looking for big things. So were they in special education? Were they the bully? Did they get bullied? Pregnant, in school, PTSD at that time frame, whatever. Just big things only. And don't let somebody say they dropped out and you don't press on them on why. What was going on? Why did they drop out? Don't let them just dodge it, because they will. So each of the generic decades has kind of generic issues. You have relationship stuff, relationship issues, kind of things. Work history, events they consider significant, legal history, drug issues, medical issues, that kind of thing that we said earlier. Current, is there anything I want to say in here? So here's from a patient. Patient lived in a city alone in an apartment, working clerical work for 2 months since getting out of inpatient psychiatry times 1 week. See, I don't have here's their psychiatric history. It's with their real life history. For SI attempt by overdose, what did they do? Hospital times 2 days. That'd be a week, wouldn't it? Make more sense. Then I would fix this and clean it up, whatever. LFTs, because that would have been relevant at that time and setting of wife leaving them. It's not magic. What happened? They're just depressed. Something happened. Patient concerned of ability to pay bills next month. Whatever it is. Don't put spam in here. Don't put CYA in your biopsychosocial. Do it at the bottom. Nobody wants to read it. You don't want to read it. Nobody else wants to read it. Nobody else is even going to read your notes. Let's be honest. Your attending doesn't read your notes. So there's a lot of things I can use as special sections. We'll talk about that in the next video because I only have about a minute left. So metadata. It's okay to write down needed information for future visits as metadata in your notes to allow you to know what you're going to be doing next time or going forwards. So I will write I'll put personality characteristics. Just a quick heads up as an example of that. And I'll put patient seeks to be seen as victim or comforted. Patient acts aggressive towards doctor and indicates unjust, not given benzos that he needs. That kind of thing. Intellectual functioning. Patient's a concrete thinker, which when combined with conversational structure and the depth of what they're saying indicates patient's borderline intellectual functioning. That kind of thing. You can put stuff that you use in the biopsychosocial as well for future visits, just so you have a picture of the person a little better. All right, so next time we're going to go over some of these topics and sections, and then we'll go over a patient. I'll show you where you can click on them so you can read through some examples. All right, it's been Mostly True Psychiatry with me, Dr. Mellon. Cheers.